As a series of billionaires fled China, the big cities became desolate and gloomy. Chinese female writer and her family jump off plane in Taiwan to seek asylum. China saw the world's largest exodus of high-net-worth individuals last year, and is expected to witness a record exodus of 1,500 people by 2024, dealing a further blow to its already severely weakened economy. The economic situation in the mainland is currently extremely gloomy and desolate. A place once considered the world's factory, with a bustling past of growth and development, is now enveloped in a sense of sadness and desolation. Once luxurious and highly developed cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou are now shrouded in a very bleak atmosphere. Companies and stores are closing and going bankrupt en masse, and unemployed workers are homeless, sleeping on the streets every night. Consumption is stagnant, workers are losing their jobs and income, and wages are being withheld, leading to widespread protests and strikes. People are reluctant to spend money and are saving as much as possible. A sad and depressing atmosphere is engulfing the once splendid cities. China's economic instability and the fear of a politically tense environment are top concerns for many wealthy Chinese, according to a report by investment migration firm Henley & Partners. Many have chosen to leave the country for safer havens, fearing they will lose their fortunes if political upheavals occur, as they have in the past. The United States, according to the researchers, is the top destination for these wealthy Chinese. Last year, China saw 13,800 high-net-worth individuals leave, mostly to the United States, Canada, and Singapore, the firm found. Such individuals, known as HNWIs, are defined as those with at least $1 million in assets. Henley & Partners said it was difficult to know exactly how much wealth was being taken with them when people moved. But, in our experience, the high-net-worth individuals, HNWIs, who move the most, are those with assets between $30 million and $1 billion. The large number of wealthy Chinese moving abroad could add further pressure to the country's fragile economy. A protracted property crisis has engulfed major developers, severely denting the country's wealth and putting pressure on debt-laden local governments. Earlier this year, the International Monetary Fund said China faced a high degree of uncertainty due to the property turmoil. Fitch Ratings downgraded China's sovereign credit outlook to negative in April, following a similar move by Moody's Investors Service in December. Not only the real estate sector, but also other businesses and industries in mainland China are facing an increasing wave of bankruptcies and collapses. This has led to a significant rise in unemployment, with many workers losing their jobs and incomes, leading to decreased consumption. Supermarket chains, service stores, and restaurants are closing down one after another. Everything is gradually reaching a deadlock in mainland China. Faced with a recession and sluggish consumption in China, along with escalating geopolitical tensions, large corporations and production supply chains are gradually exiting the market. Major Western enterprises, as well as companies from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, are leaving in droves, shifting their supply chains and production to countries such as India, Vietnam, and Indonesia. This is further exhausting and depressing the mainland economy. Once the world's largest factory, Chinese workers now have to seek employment in neighboring Southeast Asian countries to survive. Shanghai, once a bustling metropolis, is now showing signs of decay everywhere. In the city center, it is common to see empty streets and deserted malls. Even popular areas like the Bund and Nanjing Road are eerily quiet. Food markets that used to be crowded with shoppers are now practically empty, and the once busy commercial streets are now desolate. Businesses are struggling to survive. Many store owners in Shanghai are facing difficulties, with some even closing down their shops. Even large malls are experiencing a significant drop in foot traffic, and iconic locations like the McDonald's on Sichuan North Road, which was one of the oldest in Shanghai, has officially closed after 28 years of operation. The economic decline is visible everywhere. The business environment in China is rapidly deteriorating, leading to an exodus of companies and a significant drop in foreign tourists. Large companies are laying off staff and downsizing projects, while smaller companies are on the verge of bankruptcy. Even part-time jobs like ride-sharing and food delivery are oversaturated. Landlords in Shanghai are finding it increasingly difficult to rent out their properties, as many people are leaving the city due to the tough economic conditions. Factories are relocating, and the population in the city is decreasing. The once prosperous city of Shanghai is now struggling to maintain its former glory. Shanghai has turned into a desolate ghost city, with fewer people on the streets, shops shutting down, and businesses closing. China's business environment is deteriorating, with domestic companies incurring losses and foreign companies leaving. The economic data from China is not optimistic, and experts believe it has already become a zombie economy. A series of entrepreneurs and billionaires have left China, taking large amounts of assets with them, dealing a heavy blow to the economy. The once bustling streets of Shanghai are now quiet, with few people around. Even major shopping malls and popular commercial streets are desolate. Some residents have observed that the traffic congestion in Shanghai has lessened, but the lack of people on the streets and in malls is striking. The current state of Shanghai reflects the broader economic challenges facing China, with declining consumer confidence and reduced disposable income leading to weaker consumption. The government's measures seem focused on maintaining stability rather than reviving the economy, as the potential for social protests and resistance looms. Chinese female writer and her family jump off plane in Taiwan to seek asylum. Recently, Deng Liting, a Chinese female writer who called for the commemoration of June 4th and published her novel Lost Soul World in the United States, revealed that her family of 3 fled China, passing through Thailand and Singapore on their way to Taiwan, where they attempted to seek political asylum but were rejected and deported by Taiwan. On August 20th, Deng Liting, a native of Guangxi who describes herself as a young writer, video broadcaster, and human rights defender, posted on the X platform, "I am at Taoyuan Airport in Taiwan, thank God." Deng Liting said that her family just wanted to live a normal life where human rights are not violated and there is freedom from fear. But we were born in an authoritarian country, lived in fear for half of our lives, and were still hunted down while fleeing. The police said that my case was a serious one in Guangxi. If I were captured by the CCP, I would face at least 7 years in jail. In more severe cases, I wouldn't even have my bones left, Deng Liting said. They also threatened to send my son to jail with me. Deng Liting explained that her family fled from China to Thailand and then to Singapore, but could not apply for refugee status or political asylum, and all other applications were rejected. "I know Taiwan does not have a refugee law, but we were truly desperate, so we came to Taiwan for help." She added, "I have always supported Taiwan and opposed military reunification. May God protect this democratic and free place along with you." Radio Free Asia reported that Deng Liting, the Chinese female writer who called for commemorating the June 4th incident and published the novel Lost Soul World, revealed that her family of 3 fled China, passed through Thailand and Singapore, and jumped off a plane in Taiwan to seek help, but were quickly sent away by Taiwanese authorities. Deng Liting told Radio Free Asia in an interview on August 21st, "They said that if they granted me asylum or allowed me to stay, it would cause a lot of trouble, and many people would follow suit. It would not work. There was no way. We stayed in Taiwan for less than 24 hours, which was very fast, and they acted quickly as well. But I didn't want to make things difficult for them." She added, "They said it has been almost impossible for anyone to stay for asylum in the past decade." Deng Liting also recounted that she was arrested and targeted after posting messages like, "Give a bouquet of white flowers to the square June Youth Day on the eve of June 4th this year." On June 4th, my son and I were arrested in Chongqing. The police interrogated, threatened, pushed, and pulled me in front of my son, causing him serious psychological trauma. We stayed in a hotel, and they monitored us outside. We didn't dare go back home in the following days. Deng Liting said that since then, her family had been followed and harassed. On July 20th, the authorities canceled all her video accounts and public accounts in China, erasing all records. She felt desperate and quickly bought a plane ticket to escape. They flew to Thailand and applied for asylum at the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Thailand for several consecutive days, but were rejected, being told they would have to wait at least 4 months. Ex-netizen Sydney Idol said, "I support this female writer Deng Liting, pen name Molu, who published the novel Lost Soul World in the United States in 2022, which thoroughly criticizes China. She dares to tell the truth inside the wall, writes commentaries to criticize injustice, and shoots videos to expose the darkness in China. The CCP's persecution of her is inhumane." Another netizen commented, "The suffering of the Chinese people. If they were doing well under the Communist Party of China, they would not take this road of no return. In fact, no one is willing to do this unless they have no other choice." Shaanxi's 100 billion yuan steel company goes bankrupt. 18,000 employees lose their jobs.
Recently, the wave of bankruptcies and collapses of companies and businesses in China has been increasing every day. The number of reported bankruptcies is rising rapidly, leading to unemployment and job loss for many workers and laborers on the mainland. In a recent development, Shaanxi's 100 billion yuan steel company, Dongling Group, announced bankruptcy, shocking the industry. It is reported that Dongling Group's bankruptcy will affect 18,000 employees. The case, 2024, Shaanxi 03 Bankruptcy Application No. 22, published on July 25, 2024 by the China Enterprise Bankruptcy and Reorganization Case Information Network, shows that Dongling Group was applied for bankruptcy reorganization by Shaanxi Nippon Paint Software Company Ltd., and the case is being handled by the Baoji Intermediate People's Court of Shaanxi Province. On July 30, the Dongling Group's Creditors' Rights Declaration announcement, published by the China Enterprise Bankruptcy and Reorganization Case Information Network, showed that Beijing Guantao Xi'an law firm was designated as the bankruptcy administrator of Dongling Group. Dongling Group's creditors should declare their claims to the bankruptcy administrator of Dongling Group Company, Ltd. Before September 27, 2024. According to the China Times on August 3, the bankruptcy of Dongling Group surprised many people. Many people's impression of Dongling Group still remains on the labels of 100 billion yuan private enterprise and Fortune 500. On September 20, 2023, Dongling Group's WeChat official account announced that it had been on the list of China's top 500 enterprises for the 19th consecutive time. Dongling Group ranked 205th on the list of China's top 500 enterprises, with 125.7 billion yuan. In the list of China's top 500 service enterprises released simultaneously, Dongling Group ranks 69th. Some industry experts analyzed to the China Times that Dongling Group's bankruptcy was mainly due to overexpansion, market changes, and poor management. The bankruptcy, judicial cases, total execution amount, and legal person restrictions involved in Dongling Group indicate that the company has debt repayment problems and is unable to repay debts or is insolvent. There is also a view that Dongling Group's bankruptcy is due to the company being too deeply tied to real estate. Dongling Group's steel production capacity once exceeded 10 million tons of various steel sales, ranking first in China's construction steel sales list, while real estate investment has been declining for several years. In addition, public data shows that in 2018, the group invested 1.3 billion yuan to revitalize the local Yinhui Center project that had been unfinished for 8 years. In 2020, the court froze its account due to a contract dispute with an elevator supplier, and then it had an economic dispute with a construction company. Regarding the impact of Dongling Group's bankruptcy, Bai Wangxi, vice chairman of the China Enterprise Capital Alliance, told the media that Dongling Group's bankruptcy may damage Dongling Group's brand image and market reputation. Economist and new financial expert Yufeng Hui said that as a large private enterprise, Dongling Group's bankruptcy will have an impact on the local and even national economy, especially affecting the upstream and downstream industrial chains. Secondly, 18,000 employees face the risk of unemployment. Thirdly, the financial market may also fluctuate, and related financial institutions and investors will be affected. Dongling Group was founded in 1980. It was originally a village-run collective enterprise. Its operating income exceeded 100 million yuan in 1994. Dongling Group was established in 1996. After years of development, it has many subsidiaries. Its main businesses involve steel and non-ferrous smelting, mineral energy, supply chain services, etc. It is a large-scale zinc smelting private enterprise in western China. Tianyanshur monitoring data shows that as of August 2, Dongling Group is facing serious judicial litigation problems involving 145 judicial cases, covering sales contract disputes and loan contract disputes, and the amount of execution has reached 1.27 billion yuan. Chinese consumption downgrades. Uniqlo, Nike, and other international brands face many difficulties and risks ahead. The economic downturn is severe. Chinese consumption has dropped sharply. People have no more money to spend and have to tighten their belts. Consumers have started to pay less attention to brands, leading to obstacles for international brands such as Uniqlo and Nike in the Chinese market, and they have to compete with other cheap white label brands. China's economy continues to be sluggish, and data released last week showed that a key indicator of China's service industry activity, covering the retail industry, was on the verge of contraction for the first time since last year. The July Purchasing Managers Index is part of China's disappointing economic overview. The consumer downturn has plunged global brands into a demand slump. Mid-range clothing brands, once favored by Chinese people for their affordable prices, are facing weak demand in China as consumers tighten their wallets and consumption downgrades continue, forcing them to compete with white label brands that sell similar products at lower prices. White label is a type of outsourcing where one company produces a product and another company puts its own brand on it and sells it. Uniqlo, the mainland Chinese market, is facing many difficulties. Fast Retailing, the parent company of Japanese brand Uniqlo, said this month that revenue in the mainland China market in the 9 months ending May 31 was struggling compared with the same period last year due to weaker demand and a mismatch between product supply and local preferences. Bloomberg reported that Crossing Xi'an, senior China strategist at Anzi Bank, said, "Consumers are more focused on price than quality amid a bleak income outlook." He pointed out that this trend has led to fierce price wars, and the authorities have not given a clear way to increase household income. China's sluggish economic activity, rising unemployment, and especially the years-long downturn in the real estate market are squeezing Chinese household budgets and weakening confidence, prompting many Chinese to tighten their belts. Morgan Chase estimates that about 60% of the wealth of China's urban middle class is related to real estate. Consumption downgrades have also hurt domestic brands. Li-Ning, China's largest sportswear brand, saw sales down 4% in the first quarter. Xtep, a mass sports brand, saw sales down 50% last quarter, about half the growth rate in the same period last year. Ning Pan, CEO of Fast Retailing Group Greater China, said that the growing popularity of affordable alternatives, or less well-known or unbranded clothing, has had a significant impact on Uniqlo and the company's performance. High-end brands are facing the same dilemma. Sportswear giant Nike cut its full-year growth forecast to mid-single digits last month, stating that revenue in the first quarter could fall 10% due to weaker demand in Greater China, including mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. In the second quarter, French beauty products giant L'Oréal's sales in North Asia, including China, fell 2.4%, marking the fourth consecutive quarter of sales decline in the region. The brand's CEO, Nicholas Hieronymus, called the beauty market in mainland China sluggish. Jesse Xu, head of China Discretionary Consumer Goods Research at Deutsche Bank, said Chinese consumers are turning to value for money alternatives, the South China Morning Post reported. She said shoppers are less willing to pay a high premium for brands. For products of the same quality, consumers prefer low prices, And for products of the same price, they want products to be improved and upgraded in terms of technology or design, Xu said. Out of money, Chinese people shift their focus to products rather than brands. The South China Morning Post reported that Liu Sheng, a retiree in Beijing, buys most of her clothes from a brandless store on Douyin. She said the store's clothes are competitively priced because it has its own factory to produce clothes that imitate the cuts of big brands. The cuts are definitely not as chic, but the fabrics feel good, which is the most important thing for us, she said. A recent report by consumer research agency Mintel showed that Chinese people currently value functionality rather than fashion appeal. According to the agency's research, about 59% of respondents focus more on products than brands when buying clothing and accessories. Ms. Xu said that given that drivers such as employment, income, and economic prospects have not improved, the shift in thinking towards more affordable alternatives is likely to continue in the next 2 years. The key issue is job security, she added. People tend to tighten their belts and cut unnecessary spending as much as possible during an economic downturn. Ultimately, depressed sentiment has hampered consumption and investment by households and businesses. Correcting this problem is the most difficult challenge, said Xu Chang, chief Asia economist at Bloomberg, and Ku Tianqi, an economist at Bloomberg. No units sold in half a year. A property in Wuhan cuts prices by nearly 10,000 yuan per square meter. The property in Wuhan has faced complaints from old owners due to a price reduction of nearly half. The person in charge of sales said that no house has been sold in the past 6 months, and the property is scheduled for delivery at the end of this year. A lack of funds for construction may affect the delivery time. According to China Business News on August 3, since May this year, there have been complaints from owners. The unit price of Wanhe Guanggu has dropped from the registered price of more than 20,000 yuan RMB, the same below, to the current price of 12,500 yuan. Has it been re-registered? Many Wanhe Guanggu owners have also raised concerns on the Wuhan City message board about the large price reduction and consulted the relevant authorities, asking, is the price reduction, which is beyond the registered price range, reasonable? Some owners said that the registered price of the Wanhe Guanggu project when it was launched in the first half of 2022 was about 23,000 yuan per square meter, and it was sold at a discount price of about 19,000 yuan per square meter, while the recent lowest selling price was only about 14,000 yuan per square meter. Wang, the sales manager, added that due to the downward trend in the real estate market, from November last year to the end of May this year, no house was sold, and only one house was sold in July. According to the contract, the project will be delivered at the end of this year, and the subsequent capital investment problem needs to be resolved. If the funds are not used to pay for the project and the construction team does not start construction, there will be problems with delivery. This situation is occurring across China and is worsening,